Attention, please be advised. The following episode contains spoilers. Don't say we didn't warn you.
This little baby Yoda one will grow into like the size of a giant orc.
No.
And he eats rancors.
No.
You know what I mean?
Hey everyone, welcome to Mandalorian, where we discuss everything about the new Star Wars show, The Mandalorian, streaming now on Disney+. There are 8 episodes of this show, so we're going to be discussing each one of those episodes one by one.
Weekly.
But before we get into that, my name is Ali. I'm one of your hosts.
I'm Corey.
And I'm Tom.
And this episode is brought to you by members of the Nerd On Nation. If you want to learn how you can support the show, get some cool perks, and, join our little band of nerds, head on over to nerdon.io/Patreon.
Hell yeah.
Let's get into it, man.
Let's get into this.
I mean, if they also wanted to read stuff, they could probably read the comic books that has some of the extended lore.
It's true.
On Comixology, on nerdon.io/Comixology. Some would say it's the internet #1 source for comic books.
The internet #1 source.
The internet #1 source. Not possessive at all.
Not
the internet's #1 source. But yeah.
Today we're here. That's what Tom usually writes.
Yeah. So,
today we're here talking about The Mandalorian.
So
it's here.
I mean, at the time of this recording, we 2 episodes have aired.
Chapter 1, Chapter 2.
Chapter 1, Chapter 2. So let's do, like we normally do on our Nerd On show, since this is the mini series compared to that. A brief synopsis, initial reactions.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go. So this was something that I was very much anticipating for a while. Very excited that Jon Favreau was involved, to learn that he's involved, and the trailers looked pretty amazing. And I just went in as just like a Star Wars fan, that just loved the 4, 5, and 6 more than anything else. And I had a really great time with the first episode. I was kind of giddy. I love the Western vibes. The Star Wars-ness of it, of like what kind of credits, I can take, like all that stuff was just like being
seeing the Mon Calamari credits were cool.
Yeah, those were cool. And being like, wow, that's like, what is that?
And it was like, the sound was slimy.
It was like calamari flan was the name of the currency. I found that fascinating. But I don't know. I really dug it. I liked the vibe. And it had cool action, had great scenes, and some of the shots were absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect. I had little things here and there, but we'll talk about those, I'm sure, as we go on.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, overall, I really dug it.
You want to talk about the second episode, since we're covering 2?
Yeah. So the second episode, I really did enjoy as well. But for me, I had some other. How do I put this? Without going into qualms yet, or
trepidations.
It didn't feel the same as the first episode, even though it was like written by the same person.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of felt like a filler episode right up front, which was kind of odd. It was also very short. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Well, was it much shorter?
I think
people
38
online,
minutes and 32 minutes.
It is, but people were online were very quick to point out, if you take out the previously on and the credits, which are like very long, you get a less than 30-minute episode.
Like 28 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was interesting, but a lot of cool story stuff still in there.
Yeah.
I mean, we are going to do spoilers, so you can talk about Baby Yoda,
Yeah, I mean, there's Baby Yoda. Obviously, the first episode leaves with that cliffhanger.
And we don't mean Baby Yoda. It's just that
race.
That race is known as an unknown race.
Yeah.
So people have gone to calling it Baby Yoda, since we've only seen 3 ever.
Don't do that. It's like calling me like, Asian man. Oh, Jackie Chan. Yeah. It's like, no, there's different ones.
There's different one. There's like Yoda.
But at this time, there is no
Nom de guerre.
Yes.
Right.
We've only seen Yaddle, who's a female version. And then for those of you who are familiar with the Knights of the Old Republic, Vandar is also one of the Jedi Council on Dantooine.
And for everyone that wants to perpetuate the Mandela effect that I have, I swear to God, that race, there's a boss version of it in The Force Unleashed. Like, it's one of your last trials, like to kill Jedi. And you go to this swampy area. Yeah. He's got these like 4-legger, like General Grievous things. And he's got 2 little baby green lightsabers that you fight against. I swear, in my mind. Tell me if I'm wrong, but I have it in my mind's eye, baby.
But officially, we know there are 3, possibly 4 if Tom's fever dream serves correctly.
Bigfoot conspiracy.
And long story short, the second episode was still really good, but it didn't live up to how much I enjoyed the first episode. Mm-hmm. But I'm still equally as intrigued as to like what happens next.
Yeah.
And I can't wait for episode 3.
Cool. For me, opposite effect.
Interesting.
So with the pilot, with the TV pilot, it's very interesting. So as much as of a Star Wars fan, as extensive as Fever Dreams could be, I tend to like look at, visual mediums very critically. And I look at it, from a filmmaker standpoint. And I felt that the pilot, was so cool. Like every introduction to characters, like Carl Weathers' character, the introduction to this
Werner Herzog,
this bounty hunter that we still don't know the name of, and then also Werner Herzog's character, were really fun and great. And also, For I Have Spoken.
Yeah,
Nick Nolte's character.
I liked that a lot. I thought the cinematics were great, and I liked the
IG-11.
Yeah, the IG-11 was fun.
Aimbot.
I liked
literally.
Just the overall look of everything, and I really like how this Mandalorian armor is much more slimmed down compared to the more robust stuff that we've seen.
Right.
So it felt like a brand new world again in a familiar place. But for a pilot episode, I felt like it was it was lacking, and for me, like it didn't have enough threads to like kind of make me interested. Like if I were to look at it with the most critical eye, take away all the Star Wars skin stuff. It's a story of a bounty hunter who is running out of money, who goes to his like handler to get a mission that's like important, that's highly guarded by like an old faction of military people.
Supposed to be dead.
And finally goes to a place and then has to make an 11th hour decision to kill a fellow bounty hunter and save a baby.
I think that's kind of, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know if it wasn't necessarily advertised this way, but it kind of felt like they were going to do like a multi-part movie in a sense. And like, maybe it would be a good first chapter of a multi-part movie, but as far as like a self-contained episode.
But I mean, for me, like in all actuality, like as critical I may be about it, like it made me just like, fuck, I don't give a shit about Jedi anymore. I want to see a Mandalorian like series of movies.
Right.
Because I thought it was so interesting.
All we wanted.
Right.
But then
Speaking from the Star Wars fan base.
So continuing on with the second one, you don't really get any of the glory of the second one without having what the legwork of the pilot does, right? So I think what I really liked about the pilot or about the second one was that like you got a somewhat a smaller, bigger glimpse at like potentially the humanity that this bounty hunter may or may not have of saving this child. And we don't know, again, the implications. We don't know how he feels about it. Like Star Wars fans would know like the relationship between Mandalorians and Sith as well as Jedi. But for us, for this character, we have no idea. And just playing around with that, it feels like the salvation story. So I like that kind of element. And then I thought this episode just kind of had more of the world building feel and more of like a tone setting instead of like a here's story. But even then, I would say like the pilot doesn't give me a lot of story to begin with as well.
That's a good point.
So I mean, I enjoyed both of them. Like to me, I would say this, like it's probably the coolest like Star Wars show we've ever gotten. Like Clone Wars is great, Rebels is great, Resistance is great.
This is an adult version.
But this is like, like cool. I get to see like what's actually happening. And then like it made me look back and like Rogue One could have been a really great branch off storyline for these characters. And this is what I would have wanted. I want to see non-Force users in this universe. And hopefully this show gets to continue to like show these things.
Yeah. And I hope it doesn't fall back on like him having to face like a Sith or a Jedi or something like that. And
it's going to be tough.
Especially
when I'll speak on lore in a little bit, but you can't really have Mandalorians without Sith.
Without
Jedi. Because of the Mandalorian Wars and all that kind of stuff. It's really what they were built and destroyed upon.
You can have a history, but I don't know if it should be perpetuated.
How did you feel about him?
For me, I'm with Tom as well. Like and you. I mean, I'm excited to see a non-Star or Jedi focused. I'm fine with having been there, but I think that's why I still like Solo.
Yeah,
because it's really just about a bunch of smugglers and droids. That movie has like a soft spot in my heart. It wasn't perfect by any means, but it was fun, and it didn't rely on the quote unquote Skywalkers to do anything.
Right.
But for me, I'm a huge Mandalorian fan. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 are both some of my favorite games. So when I was younger, I was one of those kids who just looked up everything about Mandalorians that I could find after that. I liked the first episode a lot. For me, I love slow burns. So this is really, it feels like Star Wars mixed with Blade Runner a little bit. Where,
especially with some
to your
of the
point,
music.
if it were a movie, it'd be perfect, but it's episodic. So we kind of have to sit in our seats and wait. To which point I'm actually really refreshed to be back on a weekly show rather than here's all the episodes, watch it when you can.
There's something nice about it.
Well, it gives me urgency for sure.
Yeah.
Like there are shows that I've been binging for years because it's always there. And I'm like, I'll watch it later. But it's weekly and I get to keep up with it. So
it gives us time to like process it, talk about it, make a new show about it. You know,
as far as the first episode goes, it's kind of everything I've wanted from a bounty hunter show.
Yeah.
At least. First of all, it's following a Mandalorian, like a real Mandalorian, because Jango and Boba Fett are not real Mandalorians.
Oh, intriguing.
And I'll talk to that in a little bit. So that's exciting to see him follow the same code that, that the Mandalorians are built upon and the same beliefs and kind of, seeing that Beskar metal and how precious that is to him, and making the gauntlet out of it. Like that was all for me, really
good fan service.
It's set up,
really good fan service. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. For someone
That's
who's loved that stuff, like that was a really elegant way to introduce.
I think it sets up
things.
a little bit of the initial stakes. Like it shows you like what the character's dealing with.
I like the way they introduce characters in the show.
Yeah.
It's very, and I mean this in the best way, it's very Star Warsy, where it's kind of like you meet the people you need to meet when you meet them.
Right.
That's when you got to meet them, never before.
A little bit of that Flash Gordon.
A little bit of that, yeah.
I was gonna say like Lando-ish.
IG-11 was fantastic. For someone who's been following that, like IG-88, who is Boba Fett's other bounty hunting droid friend, was very feared. And you read about it and you're like, but why? Like a droid, really? And then you see this guy in action and you're like, that's why they're scary as shit.
It's aimbot.
First of all, it's aimbot, but he's taking shots. Like the only thing that really hurt him was that cannon. And he's just like aimbotting behind him and twirling around. It was like, for me, I was giddy during that point.
Yeah.
Like I was like laughing out loud. And my wife was like, what's happening? I was like, everything I've ever wanted to happen is happening right now. So the first episode for me, that reveal at the end obviously is very exciting.
Right.
Just because when it was under George Lucas, he forbade anyone in the extended universe forever exploring the Yoda species. In fact, Topps made a card with a bunch of different Yodas praising to an idol, and he shut it down. He was like, it's the only card he rejected out of the whole series. He was like, no, don't print that. When it comes to the second series or the second chapter for this show, I felt the same. Again, it was different, but it was more. Here's the thing: when you have a lead character whose face you don't see, you gotta, and I mean this figuratively, but also literally, drag him through the mud a bit to see how he reacts to certain things. Because now we've seen him in the first episode be a total badass, and handle the pressure he's used to. How does he handle the pressure he's not used to?
Right.
And I think that the second episode was super important for that. And it really gave you an understanding of like, okay, he's really capable in one way, but like he couldn't defeat a band of Jawas, right?
Right.
Or he
struggled to.
He was gonna like give up killing that. I forget the name of the rhinoceros thing.
He wasn't gonna give up. He fucking had a knife.
I mean,
ready
he was gonna he was gonna go out fighting because that's what Mandalorians do. But I'm pretty sure he was like, I'm gonna take it down with me. I'm gonna die, but I'm gonna get this thing. So I think it was really interesting that we got to see these high and low points in 2 episodes, and going forward, I'm really excited to see what they do with it from there. Because that was one of my concerns going into this. I was like, shout out to Patrick Willems on Twitter, brought up the question. He was like, can you think of a movie or TV show where the main character, not a side character, a main character, you never see his face?
Not including Batman, Judge Dredd, where they're partial faces.
Right.
But also not including characters that have like masks over their faces, like the mask Jim Carrey. You still see facial expressions.
Yeah. And someone brought up Doom Patrol, and they were like, technically you get a whole episode of him without the wraps.
You get it.
So like it was interesting. It intrigued me. I was like, I never thought about that. How are you going to convey emotion? I've seen it done where you can see the face and they don't say anything, right? Edward Scissorhands is a great example of that, where he says, I think 3 lines through the whole movie, but you understand him at every moment.
Even if you like caught a glance of him,
you
would get an idea of how he processes emotion, and then you can kind of fill it in your mind. But so far, we haven't seen.
So I, from a technical standpoint, not from a story standpoint so much, but from a technical standpoint, these 2 episodes contrasting each other, for me, for the character building was really important, because now I get him. I've seen him in battle. I've seen him honoring his culture.
Right.
I've seen him at his lowest point too, helping like groveling to Jawas and like fighting a rhinoceros and protecting a baby.
Yeah.
And you get that he's a decent guy. He wants to pay a Kuiil or whatever his name was, Kuiil. Nick Nolte's character.
Nick Nolte.
I have spoken.
Oh yes.
He wants to pay him. He wants to like. He's not ruthless.
Offers him a job and all.
He's very honorable.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, I'm in. I'm sold. I'm sold on this show.
So with that, we're not going to do any grumps because the show's not completed.
Not completed.
There was a question of like, should we do it per episode? But we'll leave that.
I think we'll do it the last episode. We'll rate it as a whole.
We'll do
for the season.
I mean, it'll be kind of cool, and you'll kind of see that as an audience member of where our ups and downs will go with the show.
Yeah.
But with that, we'll just go brief synopsis. Let's do a little bit of lore first,
For sure.
and then we'll do brief synopsis, and then we'll do the production.
I'm gonna go very light on lore, and I know I'm not an expert on this by far. There are so many people who know so much more.
Let's
You're
say
the expert in the room.
relevant lore.
Relevant lore. So Mandalorians, first of all, are not a race. I think they used to be when they first started. It was all one race. I can't remember the name right now.
Back
but
when they
it
rode
started
the
with
mythosaurs.
So they didn't ride them; they killed them to extinction. At least it was when I was reading up to it. They may have changed the lore now, but when I was reading up to it, they inhabited this planet that was basically run by mythosaurs. And Mandalore the First, as they call him, killed the first one, and that's why their sigil is actually a skull of a mythosaur.
Skull of a mythosaur.
And of course, the planet they landed on, they were like, Mandalore, let's call it Mandalore. And then it became a title that was passed down, right, from Mandalore the First to Mandalore the Conqueror. Eventually, they created this society of all different kinds of races, but it's about a way of life rather than who you are.
Right.
So as long as you follow the codes, you always, if the Mandalore calls, you answer, you rally for the Mandalore. They also have a code I'll look up here. I have it written down in a minute. But it's kind of like the Sith and Jedi code. They have their own code.
Yeah.
It's like without honor, you may as well be dead. Like that. That's what they believe in. And they're a warrior culture. So fighting is their life.
They're pretty much what Saiyans are.
I was going to say they're Spartans.
Yeah,
they're
basically.
essentially future Spartans and future Saiyans.
Or past Saiyans.
Eventually,
past Spartans.
They had they had different armor, that kind of stuff. But the one thing that tied them together was that T-visor.
Right.
Because they were different races and different walks of life, they had to find a unifying thing. So that their armor was their way of unifying themselves.
Very infamous too.
Yeah.
Like immediately being called a Mando by that one guy at the bar. It's like, it's like you just known.
It's known. Well, they're the fiercest fighters.
Until.
Well, not even until they teamed up with the Sith, and they wiped out a lot. Like they wiped out a fucking ton.
Yeah.
But then that Sith became imprisoned, and then they went to his leader, his master, and they like broke him out, and then they fought with the Jedi and the Republic, and then there was the Great Mandalorian Wars. Yeah.
Wasn't there like a big so the Mandalorians were very much like conquerors. Yeah. And when they kept going from the outer rim into the inner rim, that's when they met across like the peacekeeping like Jedi. And then they didn't know how to fight against that magic, so that's when they started developing like tools and weapons and stuff.
Their
like that.
armor and weapons and stuff that were specifically designed to fight against the Jedi, and they teamed up with the Sith.
That's when they teamed up with the Sith.
In fact, fun fact: Darth Maul actually defeated the current Mandalore and took the blade, and so technically he's the new Mandalore in the Clone Wars series, at least. But he didn't take the title, obviously. But he took the Death Squad of Mandalores, because Mandalore eventually, in the canon, at least with Clone Wars, became a peace world.
Well, they split to two factions, and they had like a
pacifists.
I would be like, just set me up with a Beskar suit and like.
Okay, so Beskar is really important because that was a precious metal from Mandalore, and only the like elite could afford armor made out of Beskar. And then of course there was the fall of Mandalore, and basically got taken from them. So that metal is no longer theirs. So that's why it was a big deal that he's getting it back. Yeah, back to where it belongs, back to a Mandalorian.
I really like the way they kind of laid those seeds, especially in the first episode with how Beskar works and how like the Forge works.
Yeah. Technically, so like Boba Fett, I believe, unless because it would have been Jango Fett. If he's not wearing Jango Fett's armor, most Mandalorians technically had the same armor material that Stormtroopers' armor is made out of.
Interesting.
If it's not Beskar.
Yeah. So cheap.
It's cheap.
Cheap and manufactured.
So they became this like after the Mandalorian Wars, they got wiped out. So it's a very small culture.
Well, it's very much like the Sith. Like Darth Maul was one of the few Sith, like
that
born
came
into
back.
It. Yeah,
that came back. Right. So when he's walking through that hallway, I was freaking out because I didn't know there were that many left. That many Mandalorians still thriving and creating and living together.
Well, not living in exile. They were like still, like
they have a forge.
Thriving
they have
in their culture.
Yeah, so that was really exciting for me. I'm hoping they explore more of that as well. I wouldn't be mad about it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
But the two Mandalorians that are quote unquote Mandalorians that we're most famous with are Jango Fett and Boba Fett.
From the cinematic standpoint.
From the cinematic standpoint, right?
And they're garbage.
Well, they're not garbage, but the thing is, Jango Fett, who, depending on what you read, was or was not a Mandalorian at one point, is basically, by the time you see him in Attack of the Clones, is a disgraced Mandalorian. He is no longer part of the Mandalorian tribe. He's been exiled, essentially. And the armor he has is actually stolen off a dead body.
Oh, damn.
And it could be, I don't know if it's Beskar or not, but it is silver.
Hey, same for his son.
Yeah.
Taking off a dead
Well,
body.
that's why I'm saying he's trash, because he gets killed in the same movie.
So Boba Fett also technically isn't a Mandalorian.
Right. I mean, he's just a clone.
Because he wasn't raised in that culture. You have to be raised in the Mandalorian culture in order to be one.
Yeah, that's why you die when you fall in a hole.
Yeah. Well, he didn't. He didn't die.
What was the water world called? Forget.
What? Oh, the water place where they started making the clones.
Oh,
as far as you know, that's where he spent his whole life.
Yeah, right. I think in the Clone Wars, you actually see him brought back to Mandalore, but I can't remember correctly. It's been so fucking long.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's little things I'll keep dropping in here.
In the Clone Wars, they talk about the Dark Blade or the Dark Saber.
The Dark Saber, yeah, and that's what Darth Maul wins.
Yeah, I mean, and so like one of the Mandalorian people was born with Jedi
force sensitive.
So they were like the one to kind of like bridge the gap between the war between the Jedi and the Mandalorians,
like a little Romeo and Juliet
and
type
so
situation.
and then that Mandalorian created the. I don't know if they were
Mandalore
or Mandalorian. Okay,
Mandalore would be
the big boys.
Mandalore is the chief. That's the title and the planet.
But I don't know if this Jedi became one.
Oh yeah, I don't know, but I know that the Mandalore controls it. It has the Dark Blade afterwards.
But then this specific Jedi Mandalorian is the one that created this schism between either we be warring people or gladiator conquerors, or be passive people or peacekeepers.
Right.
And there might be some little tickle with some Obi-Wan people, but who knows?
That'd be nice. But essentially, I mean, that's in a nutshell, without taking up too much time. That's what the Mandalorians are about. Let me pull up their code real quick, because I was as I was researching for this episode, I found this, and I actually didn't know they had a code of honor until recently. So as there is also the Jedi and Sith code, which I highly recommend you look up because it kind of encompasses what they both believe in. This is the Mandalorian code.
Gray.
Strength is life, for the strong have the right to rule. Honor is life, for with no honor, one may as well be dead. Loyalty is life, for without one's clan, one has no purpose. Death is life, one should die as they have lived. That's the Mandalorian code, and it's badass as shit.
Yeah.
So, AKA, so like 20 years from now, we might get like a movie that says The Last Mandalorian.
No.
I mean, if everyone's dead, then the culture's dead.
Not called The Last Mandalorian.
I mean,
certain people do want movie versions.
Well, to me, what made me out of this, I wanted to watch like a movie version of like just the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, because at this point, like to the pilot, I feel like the pilot as well as the second season like hasn't really talked about, for a visual person who's watched the movies and watched the shows, doesn't do nearly enough or nearly anything what the Clone Wars did in terms of like give you the establishing of what this Mandalorian is supposed to feel.
Yeah, I mean, and then we may just get that, since it's not a movie. We may just get that later on.
Yeah,
in
we could.
the TV
we don't
shows.
know. Yeah.
Slow burn, kind of like, oh
hope.
shit.
I hope, because it's like in like Force, like if we just go with A New Hope, we kind of barely know a little bit at the first point of like why what are Jedi and what's a Jedi versus what the Sith is.
Yeah.
And then like in the second one's like barely even touch upon that at all. Third one, okay, this is much more about the Sith. And then the prequel series is like, it's all about what the Jedi are and all about what the Sith are.
Yeah.
So like they're all interconnected, but with the Mandalorians, like the movies did very little service to even explain what the point of them
Oh
were.
yeah, I mean, Boba Fett didn't. His first appearance was a cartoon.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Like that was during the Christmas special, which, by the way, I would highly recommend. It's the only good part. It's actually good. Like it's out of the Christmas special, which is,
you know,
I don't know if you've ever watched it.
Fever Dream.
I haven't.
You should watch it.
Yeah.
Absolutely, you should watch it.
You should watch it when you're sick.
But everyone's contractually obligated to be there. Like Harrison Ford is
really
like off, like so mad. But there's a cartoon in the middle of it about Boba Fett, and it's really good. It was
Oh.
introducing the character.
Interesting.
Yeah, but anyway,
So brief synopsis.
yeah.
So we start out on random island, a random planet we don't know,
Snow Planet.
Snow Planet, and we have our hero, the Mandalorian, which again unnamed, who walks over into pretty much a bar and sits down and gets a drink, and there's a fight happening behind him, and he breaks up the fight and actually saves the guy who's in trouble, finding out that that's his bounty.
Yeah, puts the bounty puck, which I love bounty pucks.
Oh yeah,
that's
love
great.
that idea.
And then he takes his bounty up to his ship, flies away. The guy tries to escape, and then he puts him in carbonite. He drops off the bounty with Carl Weathers in a new planet, and then Carl Weathers says, "Hey man, like I can't give you all the bounties because all the other bounty hunters
guild
need all the guild. Like we don't have that much money and stuff like that. So he's like, I'll take the most expensive one. He's like, it's dangerous. You should do it. Here's a call to
No
act.
puck.
Here's a call to history. Call to adventure. So we meet the handler for that mission, and it's Werner Herzog.
Yeah.
And but before,
Character's name is the client.
the client.
Is the client.
But before we get to that point, we are met with some stormtroopers, and this is
Which-
supposed to
that
be
was-
5 years after Return of the Jedi.
In the previous scene, the Mandalorian even says the Empire's dead.
yeah.
These credits are no good.
Yeah,
Imperial
when he's
credits
trying to
are
get
no good.
sold him. And then it's a little tense as a little doctor boy comes in, and everyone puts their guns out to each other. Little
It's 4 versus 1.
little brown
like those
person
odds.
standoff. I don't want to appropriate too much. Hey man, some people might get mad about that.
Which, by the way, I loved I don't know why I always like Stormtroopers' voices, like nowadays. Like ever since like Force Awakens.
Oh, yeah?
And now in this
you
episode.
mean ever since Daniel Craig?
Ever since Daniel Craig, I guess.
That's what it is.
I just think it sounds badass, the new way they're like doing the voice for it.
Yeah, because they're not clones anymore.
Right.
Yeah, they're all trained soldiers.
Like, we have you 4-1. And
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're actually scary.
I like those
They're supposed
odds.
to be
I like those odds.
They're supposed to be scary now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that the movies never did. Anyways, so we get the mission, and the mission is to capture this
50-year-old
50-year-old
50-year-old asset.
asset.
Yeah.
Dead
A
or
person.
alive, alive if we can,
alive, preferably.
preferably.
I'm just being pragmatic.
Pragmatic. And then before he goes on his mission, gets suited up. Enter the tutorial of how to use your armor.
Yes.
So he walks
How to
through the
upgrade.
Mandalorian hallway, and then meets the forger, and he's
Smith.
He's just bestowed upon some Beskar armor for a shoulder plate as well as a gauntlet.
Pauldron is
No,
an
a
old
pauldron.
A pauldron.
And the rest is given to a foundling. Which he was.
And then he goes off on his mission. He goes on his mission and is attacked by these weird 2-legged frog giant monster things. And then Nick Nolte comes in and picks him up and says, "You gotta learn how to ride it." And then says like, "Hey, whatever's going on."
The 2-legged
little
piranha fish
piranha
thing.
monster. And
blurg.
Like Jeremy Johns said that he's like, it's a piranha with 2 legs.
Also,
I was like,
it's called a blurg, like something out of
blurg.
Rick and Morty.
That's a Blorgus. And here's this funny cow riding show, like part where he has to learn how to ride it.
Yeah.
And then Nick Nolte's character is only helping him out because there's chaos and trouble happening on his valley for whatever the client has sent him
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So he rides away, and he goes to this town, and it's empty. And then he's finally attacked, but he's attacked by IG-89?
11.
11.
IG-11.
IG-11.
88 is the
88.
original one.
I was like
Or
89.
he's
maybe
watching this happen from like
yeah.
far away.
He sees that guy just walk up and just start
Walk
shooting
up.
fuckers.
And
left and right.
They decide to team up and then take out all the surrounding guards, which they do. And then they use
Initiating self-destruct.
Yeah, they use a turret to blast open a door once all the Goonies are dead. And then one still left there. And then they find a life form using a plot device,
A tracker.
toy. And they open up the thing, and they're like, "Whoa, it's supposed to be 50 years old," and it's a little baby Yoda race person, not Baby
Yeah.
Yoda, but we're the same race that he belongs to. And then IG-11 says, "Well, we gotta kill it because he's in a different mission, so he doesn't have the
Yeah,
same."
he clearly
orders."
has
Same target,
separate
different
bounty.
client.
Yeah. And our hero says no, and then shoots him, and we end off with a iconic shot of this Mandalorian with the baby.
Reaching out.
And next episode starts with this Mandalorian going off through the desert to go back to his ship with this tracking hover baby cart
Cradle.
that follows him, cradle. And he gets to his ship and finds that Jawas have stripped his entire ship. So he chases after them in their giant fucking square
thing. Yeah.
Land fortress.
And then
Mobile fortress.
he climbs up, even though he has a grappling hook. He climbs up and he gets shot and shocked off, and he just falls unconscious. to be
That's what the Jawas are about. If anyone here plays Galaxy of Heroes,
just
they're
shock you.
super effective against droids.
Okay.
Jawa team.
Nice.
Oh, okay.
Because they have all shock weapons.
So he wakes up and he has to take the long way home. So he walks back to Nick Nolte's farm and
Quill. I think it is.
Quill.
Quill.
And
Quill.
they're like, hey, well, we have to go talk to the Jawas to see if we can get your stuff back. They don't destroy things, they strip things, they steal things. So they go to the Jawas and they bring the little baby along. And he says, hey, I need to get the stuff back. And he's like, this is my stuff. I shouldn't have to be paying for it. And the Jawa's like, we want your Beskar armor. He's like, no. He's like, then we want the baby. He's like, no. And he's like, we want an egg. Get us an egg.
The egg.
And get us the egg. And so he goes on a fucking side mission. And then he goes hunting in
Side
a cave.
quest.
Yeah. And then he's attacked by this giant rhino monster. And he's
Reek. That's what it's called. A reek.
A reek?
R-E-E-K.
okay.
For what? The
The
animal?
rhino monster. Yeah.
Wow, it's Theon Greyjoy.
I think.
So-
or at least that's the one that was in Attack of the Clones.
Okay. So
We can call it Reek for now.
Theon Greyjoy is being a rhino man and beating the shit out of this Mandalorian and destroying his armor, and the Mandalorian's on his last legs holding a knife up in his final stand to save the baby. And then the baby uses force lift to halt the rhino monster in his tracks, that giving the Mandalorian the killing blow to stab it.
Mhm.
And then we go back with our hero to Nick Nolte's house, and they fix up the ship. And the Mandalorian tries to offer him a job, and then he says, no, I've worked all my life, so I don't have to be in servitude anymore, but
Yeah.
I wish you the best.
And now he has a peaceful valley.
Yeah. And then they fly off into the end of the tutorial, and they're on to the next mission. And
Well, now presumably back to the client.
the client, yeah, presumably. So here comes the true second act of the show. But yeah, that's the first two
Mhm.
episodes that we've seen, and then we'll be back next week to go over the next episode.
Yeah.
So production.
It's called a mudhorn.
It's called a
different.
Mudhorn. Oh,
Yeah.
you
my
know,
mistake.
You know, you'd think
I know.
Mudhorn. You got Rancors
It's got
and
mud and a
and-
horn.
and Wookiees. You know, Mudhorn.
Mudhorn.
That's the one. Mount Doom.
I thought it was a
works.
reek, my
Mount
bad.
Doom, exactly.
So the production
Somebody
for this,
emailing us. It's not a reek.
Yeah, exactly.
it's not Theon Greyjoy. The studio is Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. The showrunners, quote unquote, the creator is Jon Favreau, who created. So I'm only going to do the shows that he created.
Yeah.
Dinner for Five, Revolution, and The Chef Show. The episode for the first pilot was Dave Filoni, best known to give all the amazing works from Star Wars Clone Wars, Resistance, Rebels, and the episode 2 director was Rick Famuyiwa, and he directed Dope, The Shy, and The Collection. The writers for both episodes is Jon Favreau, who has written Swingers, Couples Retreat, and Chef. The cast, who plays our hero, is Pedro Pascal, best known from Game of Thrones, The Equalizer 2, and The Kingsman 2. A lot of twos.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers, who's known from Rocky, as Apollo Creed, baby,
And
Predator,
Happy
Gilmore.
Arrested Development.
Arrested
Development.
As
Carl Withers.
Yes, Carl Weathers.
and then the client, Werner Herzog, as we say, who lent his voice for Rick and Morty, who's also in Jack Reacher, and is in starred in his a film Fitzcarraldo. And then Nick Nolte is Nick Nolte, who is best known from
Enough said.
Warrior, Affliction, and 48 Hours.
And
And I don't know any other characters. Oh,
Hulk.
Taika Waititi. For,
no, I was gonna say Hulk.
oh, Hulk.
He was
And
in
Hulk.
Hulk.
He was.
Nick
Yeah.
Nolte.
He's
Oh
the
my
dad.
God,
He's the
dad.
crazy
He's
dad.
Daddy
He yells
Banner.
at one point. He's like, "I'll train him."
Yeah.
And then IG-11, played by Taika Waititi.
Who
voiced
did
by-
Hunt for the Wilder People and What We Do in
And-
the Shadows
and Thor
And
Ragnarok.
famous for directing Thor Ragnarok.
and currently in theaters.
Jojo Rabbit.
Jojo Rabbit.
At the point of this recording.
And Love and Thunder.
Oh,
For
and
those of you listening 2 years from now.
so the show was released on along with Disney Plus, November 12th, 2019. The season is 1 right now so far, but I think it's been confirmed for a regular season 2. It's 8 episodes. Runtime is approximately 40 minutes. That's what the internet says, because the first episode is 38 and the
Yeah.
second one's 30. The budget is 120 million for the entire season, 15 million per episode. The RT score for critics, Rotten Tomato score, is 89% and 94 for audience.
I was gonna say the production quality is
Also,
absolutely
a couple
insane
things
for
I
this.
want to throw up the top that I noticed from the release schedule, just because it might be interesting to talk about.
We
8
won't bring
episodes,
it up
like you
in
were
the other
saying.
episode.
Well, we won't. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
But so Jon Favreau's writing episodes 1 through 4. Dave Filoni's doing episode 5. That's cool. But then episode 6 is like written by Rick
Famuyiwa.
Famuyiwa,
Who
and
just
it's like a
directed episode
story
2.
by Christopher Yost. So this one, I'm interested in because it's like it kind of sticks out.
It breaks the mold.
It breaks the mold, and it's also right before
Episode 9.
Episode 9. No, wait, is it?
Right?
No, episode 7, which is back to Dave Favreau.
Yeah.
Favreau is going to be on the 18th, and that's right before episode 9. So, but I'm still interested.
It's kind of this middle ground.
I don't know if it's been rumored or what, but that there's going to be some tie-in to episode 9 in some way.
So the baby grew up.
Yeah, and then the next week after episode 9 is the finale of the show. So it'll be interesting to see what they do in that space.
Yeah, because this still takes place, 20 years before?
Right.
30 years before?
Right, but they might be planting
30. It would be 30.
Little seeds.
30 years before. Yeah. Ish. 25.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It could be like a Captain Marvel Avengers thing where it's like they're seeding it for...
Well, that honestly, to me, as much as I, know about writers' rooms and I know about like show running, that just means like, hey, we had an episode to fill.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's
to me.
That's me dancing around that inevitability, but I think
or they could have come with
I'm interested to see. It could be like
potentially, but
it could be a flashback story.
We've had writers on our show who
because go ahead.
We've had writers on our show who are like, oh yeah, I've been a staff writer for years, and then like every 100 episodes, I'll get one written by me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, yeah, it's your turn. Like here's time to pass the buck.
But specifically
for
it to not be written by John Favreau. By Jean Favreau.
With an X at the end.
French. Jean Favreau.
Jean-Luc Favreau. But that'll be interesting. I'm very interested to see what happens.
Yeah, it could be flashback. I mean, because for those of you who are wondering, when we said foundling, that literally means he was found and brought into the Mandalorian Code. Like I said, it's a culture,
footage.
not a race. So he was brought in and raised as a Mandalorian.
There's some footage of the flashback.
In terms of not being alarmist and all that, you just made me super worried because like that just reminds me of like how the Marvel Netflix shows of like there's like 2 episodes that don't need to be in there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that could be the one.
It could be.
Is that what they said?
Well, no. Well, like all of the Marvel Netflix shows are like 26 episodes long.
Oh,
or 26 episodes per season. And it's like, you don't need 4 of these episodes because they're all stupid backstory. And I tell you right now, when Obi-Wan says, back in the Clone Wars, it's like cooler than like seeing like, that's the Clone Wars?
Yeah.
And on movie form?
Yeah.
Seeing the TV show is way cooler.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's like, here's a flashback episode in 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Because like you have a very limited amount of episodes.
I agree.
And you want to use one of them for a flashback.
That's why I was like, it looks like they had a 6-episode season. And then they're like, well, Dave Filoni has a cool idea for an episode. Let him do one. And then we got to tell this whatever story in this episode for the timing of the show.
We'll see.
So we'll see.
Worrisome.
We'll see.
Worrisome.
Yeah. Should we get into like favorite parts of some episodes, all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Because I got to be honest with you, seeing that guy cut in half by that butthole door was one of my favorite things.
That's a favorite.
I was like, damn. That's in the first minute and a half.
They went
cut
there.
A guy in half.
Yeah.
That's great. It reminded me. It reminded me. Well, they did it very Star Warsy.
Yeah.
So like, remember the guy getting his arm cut off in New Hope? Sound effect, and then
it's
legs.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, okay. Just enough to show you what's going to happen.
Yep.
I do like how much they are using the grappling. It makes me really happy. It's
Yeah,
one of my favorite things.
Because we don't have a rocket fucking jetpack.
He doesn't have a jetpack yet.
Yeah. No.
Not that achievement hasn't been unlocked yet.
Jango Fett.
Although I'm
Boba
like,
Fett.
I was like, why were you dragging him back into the bar? Really? Like he was just kind of running away from the situation, and he but maybe
could have gone to get help.
Maybe to think that maybe he's the bounty kind of thing.
Yeah.
With storytelling, but
I think it was just to make sure no one fucked with him.
But also,
I'm not gonna let anyone out of here if they fuck
true.
with me again.
Yeah,
I'm about to take this guy out.
Yeah.
And I don't need anyone else messing with me.
I mean, like it's kind of like flies only fly around rotten eggs. So it's like you definitely probably have some friends. He must have friends.
Plus, they like scratched his armor. So
that's a good point.
Fucking insulting. He's a warrior culture. Don't step on me, bro.
Yeah.
But also, it's kind of like Rorschach. You're stuck here with me. So like you've incurred the wrath.
Yeah.
So.
He just wanted to be left alone. And then, is it
I
true
have
you
a
never
theory
take
about
those
that.
off? Is that Beskar?
I think so.
He doesn't like you.
So I've heard people be like, he talks too much, or he's too chummy, or like too openly conversational.
Mandalorian?
Really?
That's dumb.
I think it's
Sorry.
dumb. I agree. I fully agree with that.
Because
I'm like, it was never established that he was a quiet one. I think he walked into the bar.
Fett.
Right. That was Boba Fett. If anything, that's
Jango
Boba Fett.
talked a ton.
Yeah.
And
my thing is,
yeah, he had tons of
he was,
yeah, it was chatty as fuck with Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
I think he walked into the bar and assessed the situation quietly and like realized, okay, my bounty is now being like kind of roughhoused by these thugs. And I think he doesn't necessarily order a drink. I think he just kind of stands at the bar.
He sits.
Yeah, he's at the bar quietly, but I think he's like thinking about what his move should be.
He's gonna watch it play
That's
out.
him being quiet.
If
but like,
anyone-
it's not doesn't mean he's a quiet person.
Yeah.
If anyone watched the Clone Wars, then you're familiar with Genndy Tartakovsky, who created Samurai Jack.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with Samurai Jack, that's how every episode plays out. The
Yeah.
thing with Samurai Jack is you see his face, and then secondly, he has maybe a fraction of the lines as this bounty hunter has.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's kind of part and parcel. So if you're used to that form of storytelling, like it's fine.
I'm super sad, by the way, that the animated cartoon Clone Wars miniseries is not on Disney Plus. Did
It's
you ever
not?
watch that? No.
I wanted to watch
You know
that.
why?
Damn it.
I mean, the animated one is like the CG one.
But not the actual like
Okay, so when
So-
it fir-
2D.
when
So yeah, in
Yeah.
2004.
so
I
when
wanna
Attack
say?
of the Clones, the Attack of the Clones movie came out,
Mhm.
they did an animated series,
yeah.
And
miniseries.
and this was a Cartoon Network show.
Mhm.
Genndy Tartakovsky, who helped create Powerpuff Girls, did Samurai Jack.
And that's the CG one you're talking about?
no,
No,
this
this
is
is like
animated,
The regular
2D.
animated. Right.
cartoon. This is not wooden people.
Yeah.
And then
And it's in the style of like Samurai Jack.
Right.
and that came out, and then
I
like
think it was only like six
It was
episodes.
pretty successful, and then they launched a whole new animated slot, starting with the movie that was purely about Anakin and his apprentice.
And
that's
that's the Clone Wars you hear people talk about a lot. Is
Yeah.
the animated series that went on for like
6 seasons,
six,
Okay.
7 seasons.
and they're doing a 7th season.
But I
Okay,
did
good.
watch the cartoon one when it came out in like 2003.
Yeah.
Or
It's a very
2000.
I feel
quiet
like
show,
I've
though.
seen a couple
It's
episodes of it.
Samurai-esque, Samurai Jack-esque.
Yeah.
And I was really sad Disney Plus didn't have
The
that
only
on
reason
there.
I know I didn't see the whole thing is because I was shocked with
Natalie Portman,
um,
yeah, me too.
no with Maul being back.
Oh, that's in the CG one.
Oh, is it
That's
the CG
not
one?
in the
Okay.
drawn one.
So maybe I have seen the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's just been so long.
it's been a while. Anyway, that's neither here nor there.
But yeah, so I mean, like, it's for me, what I really liked was kind of just like seeing the world around them fell apart.
Yeah.
Was like, I loved that.
After the Empire, what was
I
the world
love
like?
that inclusion of, these are imperial
The currency means
I
nothing
can't use
now.
this. And I was like, oh, that's really cool. Cause like,
They still spend.
that's,
No,
to me,
they
that's
don't.
really
No, they don't.
important. To me, that's kind of
Yeah.
like, this is kind of like, again, it's not Jedi related. And that's
Right,
the thing
no.
about the movies that they had going for it. It's like, no matter what, it's going to be Jedi related. But
Mhm.
this one here, it's like, okay, cool. Let's talk about a story that's not
Well, we
connected.
get I mean, for what it's worth, George Lucas like built a pretty rich, incredible world,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously that was like compounded upon by
You'd say it's his forte.
other creators. Some would say.
Some might
Um,
say that.
Yeah.
So it's really cool to just be able to just kind of dig your feet into the sand and kind of enjoy the world.
No pun intended.
that was set
Well, it's
No
like
pun
it's like living in the sandbox that was already created,
Mhm.
Yeah.
and then
No pun intended.
undigging some of the toys that might have been left behind.
Yeah.
And I would just say for sure the cinematography for it, not in terms of the actual movement of the camera, because I think the movement's kind of like normal, but just the iconography that you get from like still frames or just certain framings,
Yeah.
or I think completely
That first
what.
push in from behind.
Yeah, but I mean also just like walking, like just framing of like this Mandalorian against all these stormtroopers, or like him
Mhm.
walking upon this giant island, which you tend to think like if you're not in Tatooine or Coruscant or all these other places, like your hut is in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah.
That's what this entire world has told me, is that your location, there's nothing nearby.
Yeah.
Well, and like with the client, you're clearly like an Empire general, or you were of some
Yeah.
kind, and it's interesting to see like that side of things of like those people who were part of the Empire now are kind of like on
What do
the
they do?
run. What are they doing?
Yeah.
And this one guy happens to have like 4 or 5 loyalists with him.
Old beat
That
ass stormtrooper
Old
armor.
like so that I found that
They
very
were probably
fascinating.
garbage. That's why they didn't die.
I was gonna say they may have found those and still been like loyal to
They're
the
good
cause.
They're good at expressing what the odds are of the situation and
Yeah.
scaring people off that way.
I loved things like the thing about Star Wars is creatures. You know,
always
every movie there's always a creature. Of course, everyone remembers the giant moon worm, asteroid worm, and
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So seeing the ice monster,
Yeah.
was great.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great introduction to it. I loved the little, what are they called, that he has to ride?
A blurg.
Blurg. I
Yeah.
loved those.
Yeah.
I liked that fight a lot, and it was very.
The CG was a little miss
Yeah.
for me, but
The thing I like about it though is it reminded me of. So the way they did it is, do you remember Luke looking through the scanners?
Yeah.
And then the Tusken Raider popping up in frame.
Mhm.
It was the same thing.
Same
He's
idea.
looking through his
little
scope,
scope, and
and then all
then
of a sudden it just pops up in frame. I was like,
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Love
It's a
it,
nice
love it,
nod.
love it. It was, yeah.
Yeah.
Of course, I would be remiss if I did not say
Oh, look at me. Look at him.
the IG-11 scene. Like I said earlier, it was such fan service to show us the droid that they told us was scary for so many years in action.
Yeah.
And the CG was
Is that
great.
the same droid?
No,
Same
IG-8,
type.
same type.
model
It's
or
a bounty
whatever.
hunter droid.
Okay.
So it's built for bounty hunting. And so I never conceptually I wanted to know what all the eyes did. Like I had the toy and it turned in so many certain ways. And I was like, has so many
like just
eyes and
sensors
arms and like
that's how it's doing what it's doing.
even the little toy's arms could go backwards. Like it was just
wow.
like, so to see it in action,
It was
just
like a stick you didn't feel bad for.
aimbotting. Yeah, it was a stick.
like
you
way
didn't feel
cooler
bad
than
for.
you could have ever like imagined.
It was such pure like 5-year-old joy like that came out of the giggle I had when I saw him start to shoot everybody.
Yeah.
And, like not no look scoping and like
I was just like my mouth was agape and I was just like, what is happening? Like this is incredible. Like I kind of set up a little bit.
And that's the kind of stuff that I was hoping to get out of this show is like, let's explore the stuff from the original films that
aren't Jedi.
That aren't Jedi, but also that technically couldn't be explored at the time, right?
Yeah. Well, this is the argument for like reboots. This is the argument for like sequels. Like this makes sense because we can do things that we couldn't do.
Yeah.
Like,
But you
have
can do it without a
flying
reboot.
cars.
You can do it without a reboot. You can explore another story within that world.
When you're not anchored to the Skywalker saga.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which that was like one of my favorite aspects is the fact that like, for the love of God, like I don't want to deal with like a fucking Jedi that's like hanging around. Like
even people are being like, this is like Yoda reincarnated. I'm like, please no. Like we don't need that.
Yeah. I mean, it's you're gonna have an impact, right? Because Luke Skywalker has a huge impact on the galaxy as a whole.
Which I would love to see.
Yeah.
Like,
which we're kind of seeing with like the Imperial credits not being good anymore, the stormtroopers' armor all deteriorated and like rusted a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm fine with I'm with you. I'm fine with a story without Jedi. Obviously, I'd love to see the repercussions.
I would love to see
Resistance
the turn from like,
Rebels.
Oh, she thinks she could do everything she wants. She used to be a princess. Now she calls herself general.
Do you think
like I would love to see those kind of things happen.
I just thought of this right now. Do you think we'll see anything about like the start of the First Order?
I hope not. I honestly hope not. Because to me, like some of the greatest things is that you can connect it.
Yeah.
But some of the things that make it kind of like so great is that they stand on its own legs. They don't have to shake hands with something else. Like
because we don't know how far into that.
I would
30-year
say
gap,
I would hope we see it eventually.
Yeah.
Season 4.
Okay.
Maybe, yeah. Like so
I can get behind that.
One thing, this is a weird,
I don't need it now.
This is a weird tangent, but have you played Force Unleashed?
Not yet. I'm dying to get home to do it.
So not a spoiler, but it's going to be indicative.
Force Unleashed. I thought you were talking about Fallen
Force
Order.
Unleashed. No, so I
have played that.
Yeah, his insignia becomes the rebel symbol, and I was like, well, whatever. Like to me, I was like, I wish Organa and the other dude who's in all these movies that you never know his name
came up with it.
Or in Dexter would have been came up for someone else, but said it's like Deus Ex Jedi again. It's just like it's always a Jedi story that irritates me. It's like the universe feels like it doesn't work without Jedis, which I think is a travesty.
I would also, my caveat to this, and now we're just getting into speculation type stuff, is I hope that if we do see it someday, it's not that he had a part in it.
Yeah.
It happens around him.
That's kind of what I meant anyways.
Yeah, like him being a true like audience member or a vagabond like we are in this universe.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to be a player.
Right.
Like he could just be like, I'm seeing it happen. And that's the wonderful thing. Like I would want to hear his aspect of like who Boba Fett was. I would love for him to just talk shit about him.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck that.
He might not even know who Boba Fett is.
Yeah, and like those are cool things like who?
Which is fine by me.
But you don't know Boba Fett? It's like
we're gonna get flash forward to next episode 3. We're gonna get back to the client. We're here, and this first order of companions of mine.
Well, like it would be funny if someone's like, "Oh, I used to work with your kind, blah blah." Boba Fett is like, "Did he have one of these?" And it's like Beskar Armor. It's like, no. It's like, then he wasn't one of mine.
Yeah,
like something
that'd
like
be
that.
cool.
Oh, favorite part. I could take you in hot, or I could take you in cold.
My God. What an opening!
Decide.
What an opening!
That was like probably like to me. That's what like. All right, I could buy this character. Let's see what fucking happens.
I also really love the carbonite because if you remember in Empire, it like was a dangerous thing. Like if you survive,
You're
like
right.
that kind of shit. You're like, whoa.
They did set that up.
So that might be a nod to like they started it, and then everyone's like, yeah, let's put him in carbonite.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
And he's probably thinking like he said alive, but not how alive.
Yeah, right.
But also like the Hutts were pretty much like gangsters.
Yeah, not pretty much.
Well, yeah,
They were gangsters.
compared to Mandalorians.
Yeah, Mandalorians are technically honorable, which is why.
Well, you'd think Mandalorian probably have better technology.
Yeah.
So their version of it is probably way better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I was gonna say because like it's interesting that this great warrior clan, of course, they become bounty hunters because it's like all they know, right? Is fighting and surviving, and it's the only glory. It's the only thing that's honorable to them is to best someone in a fight.
Yeah,
and that's all you're doing when you're a bounty hunter.
You're
is
beating the other
people
bounty
in a
hunters.
fight.
Well, it goes back to the Wild Wild West, a world with no rules. Like you pretty much like the fastest guns in the West, like are the ones that make the laws.
Here's a fun fact, because Star Wars, for those of you who are uninitiated,
Star Wars
is a Western.
Mm-hmm.
It is very much a Western soap opera.
Western soap opera that takes a lot from Japanese culture.
Yes. Oh, 100%. But one of my favorite things is if you watch the first episode, again, when he's leaving when he's walking, or anytime he's kind of walking in and out, but I noticed it in the cantina, the first Frozen Planet cantina, his feet, when he steps, sounds like he has spurs.
Oh, really?
It's like,
just because of that.
But I think it's his metal armor.
Right.
But like, it's
gives off
definitely
the
the sound effect of just cowboy walking.
Well,
And
I mean,
it's awesome. Like it felt so right.
They do that also, and it's compounded with when he first enters the spot too, because it's just him against the back of the white in the background.
Yeah.
Just like going into a saloon.
Yeah. I love it. I love that they're leaning into that a little bit because that's such the tone I had in mind.
Yeah.
And it gives leave for that slower pace that they have. Because I used to watch those all those old Westerns. I specifically started with the original Magnificent Seven, was like the first one I ever watched. And it just has that vibe where it's like, it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of politics, and then there'll be a big fight, and then it'll be a lot of talking and a lot of...
They haven't mentioned what specific planets we're going to, right?
They haven't, and I kind of love that.
I was going to say, like, I think that's cool too, because I think, again, like going based off a little bit that
they might have in dialogue, but there's no like big white word that's like... Bespin.
No,
yeah, exactly.
No marvelous shit.
No.
Not Rogue One, like the first like hour of Rogue One where you have like 10 planet title screens come on.
Yeah.
I felt like it's kind of nice because then I think we can explore worlds we haven't been to, and like just being on the outer rim versus being on the inner rim.
Yeah,
I think that's
100%.
kind of important because we want to see how much impact. Like again, it's great to see how much the Empire was in effect, but also how much the Republic is in effect. But also seeing these worlds that like were never really affected at all.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like, if you want, like, what I would love to see, it's like kind of talking about like certain places now that like aren't affected by government at all. And like some places are so.
Where
like,
maybe the Empire was the only thing keeping it together, and now they've just left.
Well, I mean, you can think of the reason Carl Weathers can't pay the full amount is because of that exact reason. Like he had the economy, he has the currency for Imperial credits, but
then,
it's gone, and now he's kind of
like that.
And it's.
I would so welcome that like ideology of like maybe the Empire was doing more good than harm.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know the extent. All we know is the Skywalker family. And
they're
and all
their point of view,
fucking personal.
Go.
From my point of view, the Jedi are.
Well, I mean, like most of the
20 parsecs. Into the core, and it's probably fine.
Mostly everything that happened with the Jedi in terms of cinematics like are all personal stories.
Yeah.
They're all like fueled by personal things versus like purely political things.
Another thing I really liked, I've spoken. I
dug that.
I loved
a lot.
I thought Nick Nolte, first of all, was perfect casting.
Yeah.
He's a phenomenal actor.
I thought it was the most random casting, and then I was like, okay, I'm cool with that.
Works.
Super works. I love that character.
I just don't. I think
I'm just sad we probably won't see him again. I hope we do.
I hope you get a little Han Solo-ish at the end, like yahoo, just shoots it. Like, well, yeah.
But I liked the character. I mean, if we didn't see him again, I wouldn't be upset from a story standpoint because his arc is like, there's peace in my valley, and he's like, you want to come work for me? I worked my whole life to make sure I don't
do servitude.
Don't do servitude. And I was like, damn.
It's like I want him to just live out his days in peace.
Yeah.
I think I just kind of don't expect Nick Nolte anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh shit, Nick
Nolte. Nobody expects Nick Nolte.
Especially in a role like this.
Yeah.
Where it's just like chill.
Yeah.
Relatively. And
he was great.
Which is cool that you get to see some like old, like, you expect a new show. You expect like, new faces and young coming up actors. But instead, like, they got some like the old Hollywood like classic actors, which are like fucking dope.
Yeah.
Like seeing Carl Weathers and just like, oh shit, he's fucking doing good, baby.
Yeah.
Werner.
Yeah.
Werner Herzog was great. His voice. Good. I'm sorry, but those trailers, I was like,
I would want him to
I heard
narrate
you're
my
the
life.
best in the parsec.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
Bounty hunting is a complicated profession.
I was like, damn,
You're
this
ex-
I'm in.
You're the most expensive one.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
have even been mad if he was cast as the voice of the Mandalorian. Like I would have
That
been
would've
like,
been
this is butter.
Oh.
This is
Yeah.
butter.
Can you imagine?
Dude, I would love it if there is like a Mandalore and he's the voice.
Yeah.
Oh.
Welcome to Mandalore.
I am
Well,
Mandalore
I am
the Great.
Mandalore.
Almost Christoph
Oh,
Waltz. It's
no,
Christoph
don't
Waltz.
Christoph
I am
Waltz.
Mandalore the Great. Welcome.
So happy for you to
Maybe
be here.
have an avocado.
Wait for the cream.
We're just getting off topic here.
I did
Any
like.
other favorite parts? Yeah.
I did also like in the pilot of him walking. The small bit of it. I don't think they did enough of it. The small bit of him walking through the town and seeing like the world around him, like
Yeah.
the garbage, like and the poor disenfranchised people around him.
Mhm.
And I was like, well, I haven't seen his face. So I don't know if he gives a shit or he looks down on them or not. But I like seeing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I dig that the world building they're doing in this is really well.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I was like, you have $15 million. You better build this fucking
Right.
world.
Tom was saying that when the mud horn came out, he was like, all right, let's see it, baby. 15 mil. Let's see what you got. And to be honest, that like I agree with you with the blurg. Like
the blurg.
there were some moments.
Yeah.
It wasn't enough to bother me like other shows. Like there's definitely shows with lower budgets.
Yeah. But I mean, like this is
that
like,
I'm like,
well,
4K
the
on
thing
a
is-
4K
plus I
TV.
just watched the Santa Claus and I was like, ugh.
the thing is,
Yeah.
this is
Oh,
$15 million
Yeah.
for not an hour.
Yeah.
You've seen $10 million for an hour's worth.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's what typical like CW has.
Yeah.
So it's like, let me fucking see this
But
bullshit.
the Mudhorn looked great.
It
And
did.
if you take into fact that it has to have all those hairs and all the mud on all the hairs and stuff like that,
Yeah, the mud. Yeah,
leaving the footprints in the
he
mud.
definitely
Like,
looked a lot better.
I like that they, as I say, bumped the lamp
oh.
because they definitely did not have to put that in mud.
Oh.
They didn't.
But that is challenging.
Mhm.
So
And important, kind of.
I gave it a little even more leeway. And I was like,
Yeah.
all right, you want to put it in mud? That's a lot of CGI.
Because mud can look real crappy in CGI.
Oh yeah, 100%. But it actually was less noticeable CGI than the blurg were.
Yeah, it was.
To me. And I was very emotionally invested in that fight
Mhm.
for some reason. For being such a like one-sided
Yeah.
thing. I felt very emotionally like
And it's like like his armor is immediately like damaged and
broken.
I'm like, okay.
And just that, I mean, I think I knew what was going to happen, obviously, because they
Well,
hinted
this
at it
is
in the
the
beginning
second
of the
episode of The Mandalorian, not the second episode
Well, yeah,
of the Mudhorn.
But I knew what was going to happen in the sense
meant-
of like I knew that the baby
Yeah,
Yoda species was going to stop it somehow. But I still had that moment of like when he was sitting there with the tiny knife, like not able to get up, just being like, I'm going to do it. As far as a character standpoint was, I was like totally invested. I was like, this guy
Fox.
is willing to just be like, I'm going to fucking take this hit. And if
Yeah.
it kills me, it kills me, but I'm also going to kill it. And I was like,
Mhm.
damn,
in terms of favorite
honorable death.
in terms of also favorite parts, any Baby Yoda shit.
Yeah.
This is the fucking cutest toy I've ever
Cutest.
Tom was
seen.
like
in my-
toys all day.
Toys all
fucking
day.
toys,
Bring
yo.
it.
This little
Duh.
fucking Mogwai.
Yoda.
Bring
Like,
it.
yo, like anytime its hand comes up, and I was like,
The toy will come out the instant that we get like a name.
yo,
Yeah.
seriously. And like,
So otherwise, what do they call it?
I'm telling you right now, 2-to-1,
The asset.
2-to-1 outsells any type of Baby Groot toy for sure.
Oh yeah.
for
I agree
sure.
with
Oh,
that.
yeah.
Like to me, this is way cuter than a Baby Groot.
Mhm.
Yeah. I agree with you 100%.
And like the way that it waddles, and then also fucking when it eats half its fucking body weight
In a frog. when it ate the frog, I
like-
didn't know it was going to eat the
Oh,
frog.
I knew for a fact. I was like, kill the fucking
It
thing.
like laughs too after he does it.
And it
or
burps.
something.
It's like,
yeah, that's yeah.
I
uh,
love that.
I loved that. I
Which-
didn't know it was going to, I thought it was going to try to play with it or something.
Which makes me scared
Or
because
lift it up with the
Right.
force, but
'Cause-
it was just like, I was
part,
like,
of,
whoa!
part of me wishes like Yoda was like just the little people version of his race, and that this little baby Yoda one will grow into like the size of a giant orc.
No.
And he eats rancors.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, he eats rancors that
It
way.
makes me laugh though because yeah, he's eating frogs, but
He's kind
Yoda
of-
thought that Luke's fish stick was fucking foul. He was like, "This
Oh,
is
right.
disgusting," and you're like, "What is your
'Cause it's
taste?
not-
What is your palate?"
Because it's not alive.
But also,
yeah, maybe that's what it was.
Well, maybe I was gonna say. Well, also maybe Yoda's also not
heavily
barbaric.
processed.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Like this child's growing up in the worst conditions ever.
Yeah,
Which could be cool implications later on.
It probably is feasting on baby frogs or whatever, or frogs.
Yeah, he
in this
probably was.
planet.
It's probably what's
On
in
a
the
swamp.
stew. It's in the stew
swamp
that
planet, yeah.
him and
Yeah,
Luke eat later
exactly.
on.
The little fucking roots.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember the planet name. I couldn't remember.
Dagobah?
Yeah, Dagobah. There you go.
What I really liked what Corey and I watched it together because if you're like me, listeners, and you had some issues with Disney Plus, I watched the first episode on my device, and then I tried going on the same device, logged in, couldn't fucking watch the second episode. It said connection errors. I'm like, are you? But
Wow.
I did it. I logged in.
And I did the thing.
I shouldn't have any problems. I came in.
Yeah.
Why is my ticket revoked?
And then you take the laptop and you smash it on the ground.
So we watched the second episode together.
Yeah.
And immediately when the Jawa, like they met the Jawas, and it's like, we got to get this stuff back. I was like, fucking side quest.
Yep.
Like what? They're gonna make him go kill some. I guarantee they make him go kill someone. I was like,
Get us the egg. And he's
Look.
like, yep, there it is.
there it is. Like,
Side quest. And Tom also called. He's like, they're going to make an omelet out of that shit. And what did they do?
And they
they
just
fucking ate it.
straight up.
I was
ate
like,
it.
it's an egg. I was like, I guarantee you this is not important at all.
Yeah.
They just want to fucking
It
eat
probably gets them high.
And I was like,
if we're
There's
being
something
honest
going on with
here,
that egg.
There's something more than just it being
it.
delicious.
I would love for them to just shit out offspring. Like that's what fertilizes them. Just
Houdini.
yeah, like something. But
Shout out to the Jawas though, like for fight, like
Yeah.
scrappy motherfuckers. I
Yeah.
had no idea. You never get to see them beyond like.
holding up their fucking.
Well, that's the sand people.
Oh, those are Samuel.
The Jawas, the only thing you really see them do is like paralyze R2D2.
Yeah.
Oh.
And try to offload a
And run away from
bum
cars.
droid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they like defeated a Mandalorian. Like when he got on top and
Yeah.
all of them were sitting there,
They
I was
held
like,
their own.
oh fuck. Here we
Well,
go.
I mean,
Now you
he
see
killed
the
a
advantage of that
bunch them.
fortress.
Oh,
He did.
he tossed them out of the windows.
The disintegration on
Oh, the disintegration was awesome. That made me really happy too. No
Like,
disintegration.
Cool rifle.
It's exactly what Darth Vader was talking to Boba Fett about.
Yeah.
No disintegration. And then what do we get? 3 disintegrations.
Disintegrations.
Yeah, man. There was a lot of these like hype moments for me.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it. Even just the first 2 episodes. I'm definitely excited to get more into the meat of it all.
Mhm.
Excited to see now that he's got him back in the ship, what he's going to do with this little baby. Because as we've learned, he's
Yeah.
not a bad guy.
No.
He does business,
And
but
he has a code.
I do think there is something about this baby that is like hitting him somewhere.
Yeah. And like
other
if they
than
take it
being
back
a force user.
and that
Because he didn't even
doctor-
know.
He doesn't. Well, they don't know what the Force is. They don't understand that.
Right.
But I think even before that, he was so intrigued with this baby, even before all that shit happened, that I think
It's crazy to think. Why do you think he doesn't know? They don't know about the force.
some people just don't. I guess.
I think it's the same reason Ray thinks Luke is a myth.
Well, I mean, the only way
Kinda
I think
thing.
about it is speaking of
galaxy.
General Grievous. I remember
Yeah.
him saying, "Count Dooku taught me the ways of your Jedi tricks,"
Yeah.
and then Jango Fett specifically knew how to counter against Jedis.
Yeah.
And if Jango and Boba
But
are
you have
like
to remember
garbage versions
You have
of
to remember by the
Mandalorians,
time like New Hope comes around, the Jedi
or wizards.
gone.
are myths.
Yeah.
They call Ben crazy. Like he's a crazy
Mhm.
old hermit. He lives in a cave. Like, so it doesn't take that long.
Yeah, and even the Imperialists are like, "Oh, his little Jedi," and then chokes the shit out of him.
It does not take long for people to forget about the Jedi in the galaxy. So
Yeah.
even 5 years later, when there, and that's, you have to remember, you went from having hundreds that controlled the entire galactic republic
Right.
of Jedi to
just
down
like-
to like,
Maybe less than 100.
yeah, probably like less than that even.
Yeah.
And people forgot about him. And then talking about from the time of the end of Return of the Jedi to now, there was one.
Yeah.
And so I'm imagining it didn't
Maybe.
get
That we know of. That like cinematically.
quote unquote.
Yeah.
There was one that we know of cinematically.
If anyone's played Fallen Order, let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Is that canon though? Is the
I
game
think it's
canon?
canon.
I think
Okay.
everything now.
Because
has to be, yeah.
because they said the orange lightsabers now are canon.
Okay, so
Mm.
as of recording this, Fallen Order came out today, so I'm not
Yeah.
speaking to that. So there's like one. As far as Return of the Jedi goes, there was one then. So I can't imagine that it got very far out that he was a Jedi even, because even the people in his own inner circle didn't believe in
But the force
Right.
is strong
Voodoo
with
man
And
me
they're
and
trying
my
to stay
family.
hidden anyways.
what?
They're trying to stay hidden anyways.
Yeah, but you
so-
also remember like Han Solo, who's traveled the entire galaxy, thought it was a bunch of hocus pocus bullshit.
Right.
So yeah, I could definitely see why they didn't know about it. Or at least what they've heard could have been different from what that baby did,
Mhm.
right? So maybe he does know about the Jedi, but he doesn't know what the Force is.
Yeah.
Maybe he just
Right.
knows they were great warriors.
Yeah, I was gonna say specifically with the Mandalorians, especially if it's part of their culture to know
Yeah.
that stuff. Like they would probably be more like Jedi's are probably aware of what Sith are, and Sith are probably aware of what Jedi's are because they're kind
Yeah.
of like their history is all romanticized.
The Mandalorian history may just be that they were great warriors that they fought, because you have to remember the Mandalorian Wars were thousands of years ago. They were
So
not
were Jedis.
recent. Huh?
So were Jedis.
Jedi's what?
Aren't they like thousands of years ago?
No, they were like 20 years ago from this show taking place. The Jedi were wiped out when Luke was born.
Oh, yeah.
They were not that.
So
like,
he could have had a new history of like Jedi would have been wiped out by that point.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah.
I was gonna say never mind. They're all clone troopers. Like imagine if one of the 5 guys in that room or one of the guys that shot a Jedi.
They could have. I mean, they're not clones. They're by that point the clones are phased out by the time New Hope comes around.
Yeah.
So we can go on all day, but should we get into qualms?
Is there favorite parts? Is there really favorite parts to be or favorite characters?
Favorite characters?
I mean, the Mandalorian's my favorite character. IG-11
IG-11
was my favorite. R.I.P. I'm sad he's gone.
Baby Yoda boy.
That's your favorite?
If it's a side
when
other
he's
than
trying to like heal him. I love it.
He's waddling him back and forth and shit, and like he's cute as fuck. Like there's no difference between his eyeball and his pupils. It's all one fucking color.
I love the Smith.
Oh, the Smith's guy.
She was great. Pauldron is an order.
Yeah.
Honestly,
and then she's like, I was a foundling.
Didn't it make you want to just have a really cool AAA game version of this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, 100%.
Imagine
well, we almost did, y'all.
We did.
I think it was called 1313, right?
13.
Anyways.
Take the rights away from EA. Anyway. Qualms.
For me,
Core doesn't have any because he has fucking rose tinted glasses on.
A couple of the music choices for me were felt a little out of place.
Okay.
But not too egregiously. But I just like a couple of the pulsing, almost like EDM spots.
Oh.
Just felt kind of a little strange. Like some of the transitional like music scenes. Yeah. It's particularly them riding on the blurgs together.
Okay.
It was like I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Good choice. I'll respect it, but it felt a little jarring when we're just used to like.
You know what has really good music choices in? Fucking Watchmen. Trent Reznor.
So the Mandalorian is what we're talking about today.
The Mandalorian. Welcome to the show.
For me, this is like very small. A lot of here's the thing. I don't have that many qualms. I don't have qualms that took away from my experience.
There are things you can nitpick.
Exactly.
I can nitpick for sure.
That stuck out.
But for me, there was nothing that I was like, man, I wish that was different. Except for IG-11. Since I was little, here's the thing. My IG-88 toy I told you about, I found in the sand, buried at a playground.
Just like Jon Favreau with this character.
So I have been waiting my entire life since I was like 6, 7 when I found that toy to see a Mandalorian and a Bounty Hunter droid team up and fight.
Bang.
So when I saw this trailer and I saw him in the episode and I saw them teaming up and fighting, I was like, this is what I've wanted. And then
I know your qualm.
Dies.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. No, I think that's it. He was shot in the fucking head. Like the first thing he says is it missed all my circuitry, so I'll be fine. And where does he shoot him? Right in the middle of all the circuitry.
Yeah.
So unless by some miracle, and here's the thing, I wouldn't want him brought back.
IG-12?
Maybe there's more.
To me, that'd be cool if they had IG-12 and it was like my
killed my
serial brother or
it's
something.
Taika again, but he's like sillier.
So for me, that was just because I don't want him brought back by some miracle. Like, never mind, we saved him. I want there to be consequences in the show. That's why I'm watching it. So for me, I was just a little bummed because I was looking and that's my own fault for getting so hyped, right?
Yeah.
I just thought they did it so well. Also, like that, I can't stop talking about that scene. And how happy I was. And they knew it. They showed him doing that like twirling thing like 6 times.
Multiple times.
So for me, that's my biggest qualm is like, I really wish he had stuck around.
They took away your toy.
Yeah, they took away my toy. Like I would have loved some scenes with all 3 of them. Like Nick Nolte, the droid, and the Mandalorian with the Jawas.
I would say this. They shouldn't have introduced him in that scene then.
Yeah.
Because the thing is, the only reason that scene works is because a bounty hunter has to kill another bounty hunter to make a choice to save a life.
For sure. Whatever it had to be, that's fine. I was just, so
your toy may have not shown up
my
at
own
all.
expectations I put onto it.
Yeah.
It's no fault of theirs.
Yeah.
Because like you said, there was a reason for it.
There's no impact in that episode unless someone dies there. Because he makes a decision to save one life over another.
Yeah.
Divine purpose.
And then we probably wouldn't.
That's what murder is. Making this choice.
If it was all 3 of them, we probably wouldn't have gotten. Another one of my favorite parts is when he shoots his flamethrower at the Jawas.
Yeah. What about this? What does he say? I forget.
Yeah, he says like, "What about this?"
Yeah. And they all dodge it and like just totally chill about it.
He has
I don't think he was
it's
trying to hit
interesting.
him, but
The character is not like fully level-headed. He's got a little bit of a temper, and I kind of dig
only
that.
when it comes to his shit.
That's true.
I have the same thing. If someone came in and destroyed and took all the things from
They
my
didn't
room,
destroy it. They stole.
if they stole all the things from my room and then tried to sell it back to me, I'd be like, "Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Those are my things, you
Yeah.
piece of shit, Jawas."
You should go to Davis
Oh,
then.
dearie.
That's what happens a lot of times apparently.
So I'd say that was my only qualm. And then this is such a petty little
No, do it.
nitpicky thing. I want the wipes to be slower.
I called it out.
You
I
did.
said like these are fast ass wipes.
I
baby.
want that feeling that like, because if you watch the original Star Wars, those wipes like,
You get a second
The
to
thing
kind of
is,
like.
the question I have is like, are they fighting against a fucking time constraint? There's no
But they're
reason for
not.
the episodes to be that short. And so why is all the transition happening at breakneck speeds?
I don't know.
Yeah, well, you
I-
can hold shots a little longer.
Because the
but-
nice thing about the longer shots in the originals is it gives you a second to live in that scene before stuff happens.
Yeah.
So it'll like wipe and you can see the Jawas walking around and then the Mandalorian can enter the scene. And you're
right.
like, oh.
It gives you a couple extra seconds with each other.
And they still have
scene.
those.
Yeah.
It's just that they still have those moments there. And in fact, I was thinking of it. If you watch the scene where they come back to the Jawas and he's like, he'll be here.
Mhm.
Like that scene.
That was
if
a
you
good one.
watch, it's a quick wipe.
Yeah.
But then they stay on the Jawas for a minute as they're like
Mhm.
boarding their craft.
Yep.
And they could have done that slower and
They
just
could've.
had more. And that's
I
such
think
a nitpicky little thing. It doesn't take away.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
It just would be nicer.
I think it's them trying to like stay with the format, but also treat it more like, with a
Modernized.
modern
Yeah.
It's kind of like
approach.
with Solo and Rogue One with no scroll.
Yeah.
exactly.
And it's like the scroll is nice, but also I get what you're trying to do. Like, and that's I mean, I will say one favorite part is also seeing like the opening credits to Lucasfilms and Star Wars.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think
kinda
about
cool.
Star Wars fanfare?
Love it.
That's cool. I mean, to me, I don't think
It's,
That's
I don't,
gonna-
retro, it's a
that's
little
gonna be a-
retro, and I like
That'll
it.
be a cross series for sure.
Yeah, I don't love it, but I'm like, it's cool. I think it's really like I thought they could have been a little bit more unique. Like Wizarding World looks way cooler to me.
Mhm.
Like, and it's like
Yeah,
within that.
you're right.
But then it's like, here's some fucking
They're
faces,
very
you know.
specific characters.
To me, I think I irritates like, here's the faces of people who are dead. Cool.
And then the Mandalorian at the end.
Then I'm like,
Are they dead? Who was it?
I mean,
It
it's
had show Darth Vader.
it shows
shows
up, it
R2,
has Kylo Ren.
It shows
Kylo Ren should
3PO.
probably die, and C3,
R2D2.
R2D2.
and he's probably gonna die
shows
because
shows a Mandalorian.
what does
Yeah.
what does this trilogy care about? Not the old characters.
I just love the rainbow.
The lights.
It's very like
And then-
70s, which is
Oh,
when the
I
movie
love
came
that.
out.
the first episode. It's like it's
the color around the border, then it turns to the yellow.
yeah.
Like,
First episode is diegetic sound over it,
Mhm.
but the second one you get that little bit of that fanfare.
Yeah.
appreciate you
I
using
know.
that term.
You're welcome.
Terminology.
I'll stick around here long enough. It'll
Yeah.
happen.
Diegetic.
To me, I would have almost preferred like if you saw like a blaster and then like a couple lightsabers deflect it, and then a rain of lightsabers deflecting it.
Just a
and then
diegetic thing of lightsabers.
well, no, and then it burns into Lucasfilms. You know what I mean?
Diegetically.
That'd be
But it's,
fucking-
oh, so it's like fused with the Lucas.
well, it's like you
film
see like a
logo.
regular pulse gun, and then you see like one of the stormtroopers' rifles, and then you see like a sniper, and then they're all shooting waves at it, and then like lightsabers, one green, one blue, then purple, red, then all of them start showing up, and they all illuminate the color like a wall that got deflected of like blasters.
Yeah.
That says
I just like the idea that they don't have to focus on the word. They can just be like, yeah, it's Star Wars. The
Yeah.
show is called The Mandalorian,
Yeah.
not like Star Wars : Mandalorian.
There's some
Which I do like.
there's
It's not
some-
like The
yeah.
Mandalorian, a Star Wars story.
Right. Ugh.
there's some
Star Wars,
iconography of like having words, like having like the castle and then saying Disney and the Disney font is important.
Yeah.
Like seeing the WB is important.
Seeing the Star Wars is important, but
And
I'm
they still
glad it's
advertise
separate
it.
from
like,
the
they
actual
put it up
title.
there on
Yeah.
billboards, but yeah.
Tom?
Yeah.
Tom Quam?
I have
Tom
quite a few.
How have we
actually.
never done that before?
Tom Quams?
Time for the Tom Quam.
Tom Quam.
Yeah, weird.
I have quite a few. So like I said at the beginning, like the pilot really kind of didn't sell me as much I think a pilot should. And I compare it to like Watchmen, I compare it to Jessica Jones, I compare it to Game of Thrones, I compare it to a bunch of other like 1 hour long shows. But this isn't 1 hour, right? So it's like, do you compare it the same way? But it's like this is supposed to be like a AAA show. And I think to me, what I expect from a pilot is throw me as many ideas as possible because you don't know what demographic I am and which one I'm going to stick to. What this pilot really showed is like, you're here because you like Star Wars and that's what only matters. And so to me, it's like, only reason I'm watching this is because I have nostalgia glasses for Star Wars. But you're not going to give
Or
me...
you like Star Wars.
Or I like Star
You don't
Wars.
have to say nostalgia glasses. Because
Right.
that,
It's
that means
currently
there is no content there.
Yeah.
But you like Star Wars.
I like Star Wars. But a lot of this, like in both ways, kind of like in the good and bad, this does nothing to do with Star Wars, and then makes you think it has everything to do with Star Wars.
Mhm.
So like when it does nothing to do with Star Wars, you're like, cool, maybe this will be an original story. But then I only care about this character because I recognize his armor.
Mhm.
I only care about these worlds or these words because I know where those came from. But then they don't talk about the implications of it.
Yeah.
So I mean, like that's why I said like one of my favorite parts was like learning about the currency not working anymore. It's like, oh, that's really cool because I want to see a systematic social thing that like is transcendent of what Star Wars is.
Yeah.
Like how does establishment fall? And
It's
how does
like
it
the
affect
little
other people?
moments when he's like, because you're a Mandalorian.
Yeah.
You killed the mythosaurs. You should make quick work of this.
Yeah.
Like more of that stuff is what you want.
Because I told Corey this a little earlier. Like, if you take away everything that's Star Wars of it, like it's a bounty hunter that goes to a place and he gets, he gets a mission and he saves a baby. But like without this baby being a Yoda baby, like there's no reason for it to matter. Like
Except that it's a baby.
Other than it's a baby, but then at this point we don't know. We haven't seen this character be one way or the other about life. Like he kills people kind of indiscriminately. He sells people's lives for money, but he saves a baby. Why? And so that's kind of the interesting thing. The fact that it's a Yoda-like baby, it's like, to me, I'm hoping for the fact that like he knows what the fuck the race is and is kind of playing dumb. Because like I kind of imagine like Children of Men, where like the same thing. Guy gets a mission to go to a place to transfer someone to something else. Like Logan, get this girl, transfer somewhere else. And the important thing is like mutants are no more.
Yeah.
But this is the first mutant in a long
But
time.
couldn't you also just say that it's amazing that even if you took the Star Wars thing away, there's a 50-year-old living thing that looks like a baby? Wouldn't that still be enough to make you pause?
I think that's enough to make me pause, but is it enough for me to kill somebody that I would technically work with? I don't know.
If they were going to kill it?
Yeah.
I think
Possibly.
it would be the same as if like you would see a baby, like a human baby.
No, but like there's still the implication.
My point is like he doesn't
enough.
care about anyone's life, so it's like why would he care about a baby?
But I'm saying if you were told your target was 50 years old and it was this baby that was like 50 years old, and you're like, holy shit,
like
what is this?
In Children of Men, it's like why would we care about a baby? But the fact that like the world is non-fertile anymore, babies are fucking important.
Yeah.
So like in this world, like why is a baby important other than it's a Yoda baby?
He's probably intrigued.
And so like he was going to do his job no matter what, but then he has this kind of change of heart, and that's why like when you said like I don't like the fact they killed him, it's like then they'd have to switch to another character, because to me that was kind of the only
100%.
Yeah,
that's why I said there's nothing that really brought the show down for me. It's just nitpicky.
There is not a problematic thing, but a thing I would have to say is like it's very it's half baked for me at this point, is not knowing anything about this character. I could tell by his actions, and I don't want an origin story.
Except that he was found.
Yeah. But
rescued, essentially.
I can't tell his emotions, and that's just a product of restriction of having him wear a mask. And the fact that he is as stoic as he is portrayed so far. I mean, he has that hot-headedness sometimes, but like I can't tell if he's looking at people who are on the streets with disgust or with sympathy. I can't tell if he cares about this child or he's like, I can't fucking wait till I send you and get my money.
Just by looking. And his actions tell you he cares
and
about
so
it.
like, yeah, that's what kind of thing is his actions, but like you kind of lose those nuance of like, you don't get those microtransactions of like,
they have to be really good with show, don't tell.
Right.
And so like it's to me a weird, cheap way of like, you make me feel like he's human only because of when he talks. But other than that, I feel like I'm watching a robot. Because when he fights a thing, that just means he's fighting a thing, whether he's good or not. But when he talks to Nick Nolte's character, it's like, hey, I really want to thank you. It's like, oh, he is a human. But other than that, it's like, I'm watching a robot because I can't tell. I can't tell when he's in English.
We technically don't know if he's human or not.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Which would be cool.
Yeah.
But
he probably is.
I wouldn't know for an hour's worth of show now.
Probably looks like that one actor. Pedro Pascal?
Probably
maybe.
won't.
Maybe.
Maybe.
And he might have a little...
I mean, I know people are upset about the mask thing, and I think there's some forums online where they're like, I can't believe we haven't seen his face yet.
I think upset is for those who are upset, don't be more understanding of why you don't like it.
Yeah, for me, it's more it's like the Master Chief effect. Maybe that's why I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Because one of my favorite series, and I think one of my favorite overarching stories, is led by a guy whose face you never see.
I think the difference with that is just the medium. because you are Master Chief.
Well, yeah, you automatically you sympathize with anything you control.
But then he does have like the reason.
But even if you just watch the cutscenes,
he has his badass scenes and his gravelly voice.
Yeah,
and the things he does and the things he says are enough to make you know what kind of person he is. And I think we'll find that out. Like I said, for me, those first 2 episodes were important, and like I do understand who he is as a person and where his beliefs are. But if you weren't on that journey with him, you're absolutely right. Like I wouldn't know how he felt about anything.
And I hope there's some more. I mean, to your point, Corey, like I do think that the first 2 episodes show like an up and a down. Like he's so badass, but also he's getting his ass whooped.
Yeah.
So for me, like outwardly, I was just like, I can't tell if he's actually good at his job, or if he's actually just like this hot, like slick dude who actually can't handle the wilderness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, out in the streets of New York, you could shoot up an entire restaurant, but I send you out on the farm to build a fence, you don't know what to do.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of what element he's in. Like, and if he's in the element of bringing in someone for a bounty, I think it's fine. Like you saw, he held his own in the fight with the turret and the cannon and IG-11. But as soon as you put him up against fucking Jawas who have scrapped his ship, or a Mudhorn, which is not something he's used to fighting at all.
I don't like, and so for me, like I understand that
it's definitely a world building.
To me, I think they could have done that a little bit more fleshed out in a sense of like, you know, if he has more reservations of like, I don't want to go to that part because I don't like that area.
Yeah.
And made it more part of his character arc of him saying like, I don't do those. I do inner city work or something like that. Because like, okay, cool. Then he's going to have to like go through this.
Yeah.
He's going to have to like best the wilderness. And then when he finally does, you feel good for him. So for right now, like, I don't know if he has a better appreciation for it at all. Other than like, it was just a hindrance to his side. And it's like, well, who gives a shit? Like this was just a thorn in his spine or his side. So that was like, kind of like, I can't tell if you're good.
Yeah.
Like good at being a bounty hunter. And like, if he is quote unquote, like better than Boba or Jango Fett, then I'm like, then that just to me reinforces that they're both trash.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. I think, and maybe this just comes from lore, is that I think he's still a beginner. He doesn't even have his sigil yet, which for those of you who are wondering what that is, if you look at Boba Fett's armor, it's not the skull, but there's a circle on his right chest pad, and it's I believe a 7, a leafed plant thing, and it's like a teardrop. And it came from the,
for everyone he's killed
sigil.
in prison.
It came from the sigil of Jango Fett's adopted father, who was a Mandalorian. And so I believe he is very good for a regular person, but as a Mandalorian, I still believe he's a beginner. He doesn't have his full set of armor yet. He doesn't have his sigil. She asked him, "Do you have your sigil yet?" No, and she goes, "It'll reveal itself. Like it'll come to you when you've earned it."
I think this is him discovering that he just needs more. He needs a posse because we haven't seen Gina Carano's character yet.
We haven't seen a lot. Ming-Na Wen.
So it'll be interesting to see if he starts forming like a little bit of a group. To handle some of the, because
classic in Knights of the Republic, Mandalorians were in groups.
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say, I was like, I don't know. It's called The Mandalorian.
And the Death
Not
Squad.
The Mandalorians. Maybe that's season 2.
The Death Squad was like one of the most feared troops of Mandalorian warriors, and it's the ones that Darth Maul controls by the end of it.
Question.
Yes.
Because I don't know, going about you can't see his face. Is that a Mandalorian thing where they don't take off their helmets?
Yes.
Okay. So like working within the confines of the source
That's
material.
why I asked me, is it true you never take it off?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, and that's.
I
like,
think they have to eventually like sleep and shit.
You gotta,
well, like it's kind of like the reason why I always get pissed off at every Spider-Man movie ever that they have to somehow take off their mask. Like, can you just fucking keep it on? But it's like you don't get those reactions, and I get it.
Yeah. In the comics and stuff, they take their hats off all the time.
No, I mean in Clone Wars they took it off all the time.
But those are the clone troopers.
No,
right?
No, there's Mandalorians.
Oh,
there's like all the Mandalorians, like all of them out there. There's like the peacekeeping one, and then there's like the faction of them that are like, we're fucking assassins, and it's fucking dope.
As far as like the cinematic universe, Boba Fett never did. Jango Fett did all the time, but again, neither of them are Mandalorians.
True, but these are like the true ones in the Clone Wars.
And if you look at where he walks through, everyone is wearing their helmet and armor because it's such a
it's a religion, way of life.
It's a way of life.
Well,
it's the only thing
if you think of it like any type of like
put down your rifle.
Maori warriors who have like, you know, piercings or any type of like attachments to their body, like those are pieces of their culture. It's like that's them.
Yeah.
It's, you know, for the layman, it's Iron Man in his suit. Yeah.
I did like that, by the way. They want you to put down your rifle.
Yeah.
I'm a Mandalorian. It's part of my religion.
then you're not getting your parts back.
And so, I mean, for me, with the second episode, to me, that was much more important in terms of character. Because, like, I felt like I got to know him a little bit more. But even then, like, I felt like it was kind of, like, cheap of, like, he's going against Rhino things. Like, he's not going to die.
Yeah.
So, like, and there's no one else here. So, like, no one's going to be at harm.
Yeah.
Not one person's at harm.
he could have got really hurt. But
and then the show would have had to go on for 6 more episodes. Like, to me, like, there's 0 stakes for it.
Yeah.
Like, and that was kind of a weird thing because, like, I feel like the opportunity could have been like he had something with him, or the rhino thing took the baby.
Yeah.
So now it's not just him killing the rhino; it's him saving the baby now.
Yeah.
Like there felt just like, well, as long as the baby doesn't get hurt, then I know and they're not gonna kill a baby on
from
TV.
From a writing perspective, it was most likely for them to set up the Force reveal.
Yeah, and I mean you could tell by beat like this is gonna happen here, that's gonna happen there. So it's like this is gonna happen, but like the way they framed up like I'm gonna da 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 here, it was like I don't think that was
what I thought was gonna happen. I didn't. For me, tension doesn't come from someone possibly gonna die, kind of thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was the outcome of the story. Like I thought maybe possibly what could happen is he'd get his ass beat, knocked out, wake up hours later, baby gone, have to find out
like more
where it's off
different
to.
plot kind of plot.
So that's where my tension came from. Because obviously it's called the Mandalorians. He's not going to die. So then my mind wanders to other spots. It's like what kind of conflict can come of this?
It could have been cool that if IG-11 came back, it's like and starts attacking him. And then so he has to start going at 2 fronts, fighting this monster he can't beat, and then also defending the baby from the robot.
And maybe IG-11's like unhinged now because his like partly destroyed.
Yeah.
It's like a schizophrenic robot.
You all registered now as an enemy.
That'd be great. Yeah.
But no, I mean it's a little. I feel like the tonnage was a little weird from episode 1 and 2, like going from like I'm a cool badass guy to like I can't ride a horse kind of feel was kind of like a decision, which I was like maybe the show is supposed to be a little funny, and so I'm like cool.
Well, that was episode 1.
That was episode 1, and then episode 2, kind of in similar fashion of kind of like you speak like a Wookiee. And it's like, okay, so he's not also too fluent in another language, so I don't know why he's trying to talk about it. But so there's like
he could,
So there's kind of like things right there where it's like you're kind of showing
also,
me
the Jawas are assholes, so
like
they're gonna make fun of you no matter what. They hated him too.
It's interesting how they decide to show where weaknesses in this character. Like to me, like, and it's tough. Again, it's like how do you make Superman vulnerable?
Right.
How do you make a bounty hunter who's
you also
supposed to be
remember
badass?
Mandalorians didn't give a fuck about anyone's culture or language.
Yeah.
Like it was their way or their highway. So the fact that he's trying to speak another language says a lot about him. Because
does he care about them or not?
Well, it's not that he cares about them, but he does want to. He respects them enough to try to speak their language, right? Whereas old Mandalorians would have been more concerned with taking their planet over and wiping them out of existence or being under their control.
It could also just be like
because the Mandalorians are the greatest or nothing else. It's like Spartans.
So he's the gentle Mandalorian.
He's
it's like us living in LA when you know a little bit of Spanish here and there.
More wise.
Okay.
Than not as
but no sigil, but
not
more
as
wise.
full-headed. Right. He's figuring it out. So it's like the new way of Mandalorians. Like, okay, boomers is what he's saying to the old Mandalorians.
That's okay, boomer.
Say your father's Mandalorian.
Like,
okay, boomer
Mandalore. Okay, Mandalore. So no, but essentially it's just, the Empire's fallen. The Mandalores are backed into this small corner of the galaxy, and so you have to kind of take your old honor and your fight and whatever it was, but also some of the stuff that doesn't apply is that the Mandalorians are the greatest warriors of all time, because clearly they're not. They were almost wiped to extinction. So I think him trying to speak other languages says a lot coming from a culture who didn't give a fuck about anyone else's.
You could even kind of almost imply that his journey is kind of like Luke's journey of the Jedi, trying to retrace back the steps of like the past.
Yeah.
With the little remnants that he has. But it just kind of
it backfired. That's why he's like, okay, well, what about this? Because they were like, oh, you speak like a fucking Wookiee, and he's like, oh, do I?
So there's some things like that, and
Falcon Punch.
I just felt like there's a lot of, and I think it's some Jon Favreauisms where he kind of just likes to let the cinematics play more than his words.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of has that all about him. So I mean, like, if you like Jon Favreau stuff, then you'll definitely love this. But like, if you kind of see the faultiness of some of his work, then it's like they come in full circle here.
Yeah.
That's where I kind of come from with it. I'm like, could be better. And I mean, like, I don't like having Dave Filoni on it. I think is really important. I think Dave Filoni should have been part of the writing process, though.
I kind of agree with that. Yeah.
Because Dave Filoni, if you watch Clone Wars, that's the fucking shit.
Well, when's his episode coming
But
up?
also
3, 4,
5, I think.
He did screenplay for. He didn't do the story though.
Still,
Yeah.
Christopher Yost.
it's some involvement at least. Yeah.
So that's it.
I'm excited.
No rating.
Nope.
No
Just-
rating.
just
We're
talking.
ongoing. Episode 3
Yeah.
is
Come back next
week.
Tuesday.
We'll have another episode of Mandalorian.
I
want
want to see more Mandalorians.
I want to see more of their culture. Like that's what
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued by. Like
Yeah.
can I just say how fucking smooth it was when that armor, the metal melted.
Oh yeah.
Just that little like little practical
How'd it
effect.
go one more? I thought I went. But
when that Beskar little ingot melted, that was
Yeah.
sexy. I was like, oh yeah.
I love his big giant sniper gun
is
stick
a pretty
staff
cool. Yeah.
shocker thing that they wanted. They don't want to decide what it actually is.
Do you know where that first showed up? That weapon?
No.
Star Wars Christmas special.
Oh, my
Boba Fett's weapon
Oh.
was that exact weapon.
Bobby Fett.
Yeah, Bobby Fett.
Disintegrator
Bobby.
rifle that also has a taser built in.
That shocks, and it also is a staff, and it's also like a.
It's literally one of the
buckshot.
weapons that Mandalorians built to fight Jedi
There you go.
because it had to be able to handle all that shit.
Yeah.
Now only if they can find jetpacks.
That work better.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That was pretty faulty jetpack. Well, it got
Well, it wasn't.
hit.
It got hit, but
Yeah,
still.
but I hope he doesn't find a jetpack.
No, yeah, it grounds him a little bit. Like it's like why does Wonder Woman fly when she has a plane? It's like he has a jetpack. Why does he need a ship? So
now
it's
Yeah.
for the final piece of your armor.
I'm really glad he doesn't.
It'd make him
dun.
bulkier, which I like the fact that, like, in all honesty, like his suit, his armor is actually slimmed down. I'm like, I don't know how you did it, but it's like it's more slim than the
Well,
other.
it's not a
Beskar.
full. It's not full.
Well, even his
head-to-toe
helmet.
armor.
Have you seen the side by side comparison between Boba Fett and his?
Yeah.
Like his armor is much more slim.
Is it?
Is
well,
it
I
really?
noticed
Let me
like
look
the
it up.
cheeks are like cut in.
Yeah, but then also like just the width and like the depth of it, so the 3D plane, like it's smaller. It's a smaller
Yeah.
helmet, so it definitely it's not like a bucket.
Yeah.
It's much more helmet-like.
It is. Yeah.
So I'm like, cool, like, which makes me think like maybe we'll see cooler ones in the future, more variant models of them.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be dope.
I liked seeing all the little ones. Like some of them had the Boba Fett antenna.
I saw that. Yep.
It was really nice little nod.
Mhm,
Yeah, it is. It is a bit more slim around the sides.
Which
it's like
I-
straight as opposed to Baba. I keep saying.
Baba
My
Ganoush.
wife and I call him Bobby Fett because she was at Goodwill and she bought me a Boba
Bobby
Fett mug.
Fett?
Boba
Oh.
Fett mug, and the lady behind the register picks it up and she goes, oh, "Bobby Fett, ooh!" And my wife went, "Yep." And we've just called him Bobby Fett ever since.
Bobby Fett.
Bobby
Uh,
Garcia Fett.
But Bobby Fett's helmet goes out towards
Yeah.
the sides, and his
Ah,
kind of
okay.
goes
Yeah.
in and down.
Yeah, I would love to see him get more armor pieces. I feel like again, this is like almost the writing of a video game. Hideo Kojima's probably creaming himself right now.
Gotta get those upgrades, man.
Seriously.
I'm in for the slow burn, man. Like honestly,
I'm enjoying it. It's a.
I'm in for the slow burn too, but like I will say, Logan got me a little bit more juices
it's
flowing
a
at the
fucking
beginning.
movie compared to a TV show, Tom.
Yeah, man.
You're talking about telling a story in an hour and a half over 8 hours.
You're
for
telling me
live.
that,
Here's
you're
the
telling me
thing.
there's no need an arc in 30 minutes.
Above all
I'm not
else,
saying you don't need an arc in 30 minutes.
Well, then give me an arc in 30 minutes.
above all
I got
else,
the arc in 30 minutes twice.
I'm just excited that we've had 8 live action wise. We've had 8 movies and now this.
Yeah.
Well, and 2 other movies on the side. So 10 movies and now this series. It's like we have a fucking Star Wars show.
First live action Star Wars show.
yeah, that's huge.
it's
I've
a
s-
big deal.
I
I
watched
would-
through the first episode like 3 times because I was just like, I just want to watch Star Wars be good.
I'm
Yeah.
not going to be like, again, I'm not going to be alarmist, but I remember when someone said it to me, it's like, guys, we're going to watch Force Awakens. Let's do midnight. We're not going to see another Star Wars movie for years. Fucking 5 more fucking come out. But
Yeah.
it's like with Star Wars, like, again, we'll have another season and hopefully they'll start doing other, like to me, I want to see like a droid factory.
Yeah.
I want to see like, what are the inner workings of that? I want to see what it's like to own a cantina. I want to see those different things. Like those
Star Wars Cantina owner.
like imagine like a show that's actually like based around
The
that, that's like-
manager.
that's somewhat like dramatized. It doesn't have to do with
Reality.
any violence.
Yeah.
You know, like that just deals with like the bullshit that happens. And sometimes here's a fucking kooky character that's a bounty hunter or a Jedi or
Watch most of the Phantom Menace. It's mostly just politics.
or if they do like a fucking Sopranos, the Hutts. You know, fucking like
I wanna
just
really
gangster shit. You know
understand-
what I'm saying?
I really want to
Yeah.
understand the Trade Federation's politics. You know, I want to get in there.
No. God, no.
Be like, these blockades, man, these aren't working.
They're not
You're
working.
blockading.
You have to set the tariff. That's the separatist.
anyway.
Yeah,
Anyways.
I think what we're hoping for is more culture, more Mandalorian culture, and of course more of this Baby Yoda. What is this?
I honestly want it to spawn a series of movies because I think, to me, I'm kind of with this. I'm a little over Jedi movies.
Yeah,
and I would like to see again.
Yeah.
Like I want to see actually the coexistence between Jedi and Sith as well as Mandalorian in the past.
I still want to see a Lando movie.
With Donald Glover.
Donald Glover killed it, dude.
You don't want Billy D?
Killed it.
You don't want to see no Han?
I want
in the
young,
beginning.
I want the. Can I just say also, this isn't that episode. Fucking love how they retconned that.
Oh yeah.
Because he calls him Han to piss him off in the
right.
new one.
Han.
But
we
really,
talked about it in Solo.
Really, there was interviews. If you watch some of the interviews going on at the time, like they didn't know if it was Chewbacca or Chewbacca, and I guess George was just like, whatever, it's regional. Say whatever you want, it'll be regional. So he just said Han because that's how Billy D. Williams thought you should say it because no one fucking knew.
No, yeah.
And so then they retconned it in the Solo movie where he calls him Han. He goes, "My name's Han Solo." He goes, "Oh, Han, huh? It's Han. All right, Han." And he's like,
check out that episode now on our podcast.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what I want more stuff like that. Like, yeah, I would love I would love
nods.
if this went into a Mandalorian movie.
Oh. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if it should follow this character, but just more about it. Like,
something.
To me, this almost feels like where The Witcher can be. Like, give me this world, and then there's more Witchers out there.
Fucking pick up a Boba Fett movie right at the point where he gets tossed into the pit.
Yeah.
Yes. His continuing adventures.
Yeah, because it went on for a while. I mean, none of it's canon anymore, I guess. But
no,
they can.
Oh yeah.
Like
sometimes they like the setups, but they don't like the way it was executed. That's why.
So let's
you can
start the
still do
movie of him defeating the Sarlacc.
Yeah.
And crawling out. The first person to ever survive the Sarlacc pit.
And they call it 127 Hours.
Yeah, there
starring
you go.
James Franco.
But yeah, I'm excited for this show. I can't wait for next week. I'm in. I'm sold.
Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah.
We appreciate you guys checking in our newest show, Mandalorian.
Let us know what you think. Let us know what you think of The Mandalorian.
Anything else you want us to touch on?
Yeah.
Send that on over to nerdonthepodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. But, you know the drill. As always,
Nerd on.
Ending broadcast.